I got a very good friend of mine, Derek, on today. I'm going to pin your screen, Derek. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ken. How are you?
I am good. I am good. So Derek, I'll tell you guys, if you've never met Derek, if you've been around the house a little bit, maybe you've met Derek and his beautiful family. But tell you about Derek and his business. It's kind of a funny story how Derek and I met, right? So Derek had owned a home in a neighborhood we lived in right when we moved to Michigan. And I think Sarah ran into you, and you were at the park, right? What was that?
That's not how I remember it, Ken. Actually, our wives met first, and then I remember Elizabeth saying, "Oh, I met like the coolest lady, and she's got a little boy the same age as Sebastian." And then literally a week later, you and I were at that same park with Brady and Sebastian, and we just ended up talking. I came back. I said, "Hey, I met this guy. He's got a kid about the same age, and just happened to be the same people." So
So the funny thing about that story, and to be fair, Derek now has 3 boys. But his first 2 boys Brady and Sebastian are the same age, and then
1 week apart,
like literally a week apart. And then Mason and oh my gosh, Julian, it like literally a week apart as well. Like holy,
very close. Yeah,
craziness. So really excited. But yeah, we've become, it's been years now. We've been in Michigan, and to have Derek on today, I'm really excited. And thank you so much for joining us. So tell you a bit about Derek and his business. So he's in the recruiting business. Derek, I'll tell you, he doesn't mess around. He works for Express Employment Agency. But you run your own practice, essentially, right? Your own local market in Ann Arbor.
Yep, own franchise.
Your own franchise. And just to give you some 2021 stats, keep in mind 2020 was the world fell apart, right? 2021, his business annual revenue is 6.6 million. He placed 930 jobs, 930 people in jobs. 170 were converted to direct hire by his client partners. He has partners with 90 clients in the Metro Detroit area. He's 2-time Express Circle of Excellence recipient, and he's a 2-time Express Bronze Circle Excellence recipient. So obviously fantastic career, very good at what he does. And so I'm excited to have you. So Derek, do you mind just sharing a little bit about life and before you got into entrepreneurship, what did you do? I know you're from Michigan, but can you share a little bit of that so anyone that's watching can get to know you?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thanks for having me on, Ken. So first generation born to immigrants from the former Yugoslavia. Both my parents are from Macedonia. And some of you soccer fans might recognize that name because Macedonia knocked Italy out of the World Cup qualifiers. Thank you very much. So first generation born. My dad's been an entrepreneur my whole life. He owns several businesses, continues to work for himself today. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. That's all I knew. I remember standing on milk crates, washing dishes at the restaurant when I was probably 10 years old. So that whole work ethic was instilled very early on in my lifestyle. I ended up staying in the food service business pretty much my entire career, all the way through college and after college. I managed restaurants, I managed bars. I even considered opening up my own bar and restaurant. But at that point, that industry just kind of didn't resonate with me. I didn't find it very fulfilling. And I was on the prowl for something else that had a more meaningful impact. And that's kind of how I landed in staffing.
Awesome. Bar Louie, right? From what I remember, here in Novi?
Yep, Bar Louie and Novi, and then Auburn Hills. So I launched both those stores and was the GM and assistant GM, respectively, at both of those stores. Yeah.
I've had a drink or two there at Bar Louie. We've had some fun. All right, very good. And tell us about the business. Tell us about staffing, recruiting, the recruiting business. When did you get started? Tell us a little bit about early years of business. How do you build your clientele in that industry? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I landed in staffing because internally, the best thing I enjoyed about working at the restaurant was that anytime somebody was looking for work, they came to me. and said, hey, my cousin, my dad, my brother, my boyfriend, whoever it was, can you get them a job at Bar Louie? And that always like made me feel good. So I naturally gravitated towards staffing, and I went into staffing because I was just burnt out of the food service industry lifestyle, the 80, 90-hour work weeks, the late nights. So I ended up working for a recruiting firm out of Detroit, became the branch manager very quickly on because I just fell in love with, what we did as an organization. But I've always wanted to work for myself. And that's how I kind of, ran into Express Employment Professionals. They're the largest franchise staffing firm globally. They have over 850 locations across 5 different countries, 22 offices in Michigan alone. And so at the time, there were only 2 franchise markets available. One was Detroit and one was Ann Arbor. And I always thought Ann Arbor was going to be an explosive hub for any kind of industry, which we kind of are seeing today, right? It's a big tech bubble. And so I applied for the Ann Arbor territory. Unfortunately, there were 2 people ahead of me, so it wasn't readily available, so I had to wait it out. But it all worked out, obviously. And so what happens is when you open up an Express franchise, you get 2 weeks of training at their headquarters facilities in Oklahoma. And then you come back to your market and you open up your doors. You have no clients. You have nobody to place on jobs. You have a very limited staff. It's you as the sales rep, the business owner, the recruiter. You might have a front desk person. You might have one other recruiter. So it's very humble beginnings. And it was a lot of me pounding the pavement, pulling on door handles, a lot of cold calling, a lot of sales, a lot of long hours that first year.
Sounds like my first year in business. 22 years old, same thing, Columbus, Ohio, small staff. It's entrepreneurship, right? It's the beginning of in my opinion, my business career, and it sounds like yours as well. And although humbling, to me, I love those days. I don't know. I listen to songs about the good old days, and I think about those good old days of walking into a business and building rapport and closing the deal, and the office nights and the people involved. I love thinking about those days. So you start your company. You're in Ann Arbor. And clearly, you've been very good at recruiting. You're in the circle of excellence in your organization. What separates you just as a business person? What separates you as a entrepreneur? What do you think? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people, just like in our organization, we have a lot of salespeople. We have a lot of people who are starting their careers. How do you go from being just someone on staff and being a top performer in your industry?
Well, let me just be clear. That success did not happen overnight or even immediately. It took me several years. We didn't hit our first circle of excellence until 4 years into the business. So those first 4 years was a challenge. And my goal when opening up Express was to hit circle of excellence as quickly as I possibly could. So it took a little bit longer than I had anticipated. And a lot of that was learning how to hire the right staff. You're only as successful as the team that you have that's working alongside of you. In the first couple of years, that was my biggest challenge. I knew how to hire staff for a bar. Cultures are completely different. I didn't necessarily know how to hire professional staff. So that was something that, I continue to struggle with and continue to learn and, kind of lean in towards, because ultimately at the end of the day, if you don't have a great group of people that are supporting you and believe in your business and believe in your mission, you're not going to go very far.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a bit about that. Tell us about your mission. Tell us about your values. I know you had some things maybe you wanted to share. I don't know if you wanted to do that or not, but what are some of your values in building your team?
Yeah, great question. So really, before I do that, the turning point for my business was learning to identify and define our culture and what our values were, what our mission was, and to make sure that it was very, very clear to everybody that was on staff and anybody else that we were considering to bring on board to the team. Because if, you could have the greatest salesperson in the world, the greatest recruiter in the world, but if they don't believe in your mission as an organization, if they don't align with your values, if they don't align with your culture, it's just not going to work out. It might work temporarily for a couple months if you're lucky, but eventually it's going to dissolve. So we wanted to make sure that all of those things were defined very, very clearly, and that's what we hired to. So, we gathered ourselves in a room with my senior leadership team and my wife, who's my business partner as well. And we sat down and we defined 6 words that describe our culture and how we want to be recognized and how we want to hire and who we want to fit on our team. Those 6 words were fun, energetic, competitive, positive, curious, and passionate. So whoever joins our team needs to align with all 6 of those words. If one of those is missing, it's not going to work. And so that's what we hired for. Skills come second. Like I said, you could have the greatest resume in the world, but if you're not a fun person, if you're not positive, if you're not passionate about what we do, this is just not going to be a fit. I don't care how many accolades you have on your resume, but if you don't believe in our mission, it's not going to work out.
It's interesting you say that. So obviously I've been although I'm not a recruiting company, I'm a sales organization, I've recruited a lot of people over the years, right? And I'll never forget sitting in front of people in my early years in Ohio. I was right next to Ohio State, and every so often I'd get someone sitting in front of me that has a double master's degree in organizational psychology from Ohio State. Maybe it's because they're Ohio State, because I'm a Penn State guy, and I know, and it's Michigan. Not to put that out there, but just
Michigan
kidding.
State, actually.
So. Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Josh knows what I'm talking about
at some point. But to your point,
agree.
Go White.
Quiet down, Josh. Quiet down. I saw you were on. I knew somebody would say something. But Derek, it's to your point, the resume could be on paper. There's so many things, but when you meet the human and you find out who they are, and it's so hard, right, in the recruiting process to resume and everything else. It's not until you meet them and you spend time with them that hey, okay, cool, we're finding out who we really work with. And I say in our company, I hire people, but really the interview lasts 30 days. Because in the first 30 days of employment, I'm going to find out who we hired. And unfortunately, there's some people after 30 days that don't stick around because we hired wrong, based on their work ethic, based on their attitude or whatever. But really, it takes a little bit of time to get to know somebody, right?
Yeah. And we always say we're not for everybody and we don't want to be, right? So there's a reason why the Navy SEALs are so high and prestigious, because like only 1% of people can get into it, right? But yet everybody wants to be known as a Navy SEAL because they're badass, and not everybody can become one. That's kind of the mentality I have in my team, is like, you might not be a fit here, and that's okay. We're not a fit for you, but we don't want to be a fit for everybody. We want to be a fit for the right people that align with who we are.
Absolutely. So tell me, what's kept you pushing? You're obviously an entrepreneur. You're a dad. You got a growing family, and I know being a dad of 2 boys, you're a dad of 3 boys. I mean, balancing it all, and what keeps you so motivated? What keeps you pushing?
It's just the natural entrepreneurial spirit. Like I said, one of my values is competitive, and I don't compete with anybody else except myself. I want to be better every single day. I want my kids to see that work ethic. I want that instilled in them. That's important. And, having a great support system, at home with my wife, especially, and then at the office, having a great team there just makes you want to be better every single day. And that's honestly what drives me every single day. I just want to wake up. I want to do better than I did the day before. And in fact, that's our mission statement. Our mission statement is to help put more people to work today than we did yesterday. So every day we want to do better than we did the day before.
Yeah, and to be honest, because I'm sure they may listen to this, we both married up. I think we both know that.
Totally. I think I'm legally obligated to say that in every interview I'm on.
Right. That's awesome. So what do you love about entrepreneurship? What do you love about being your own boss?
I love that I'm in control of my destiny, my success, right? have myself to blame for all my failures, and I can pat myself on the back when we do well. But I love having that responsibility and having, the control of where I see myself going in life. That's ultimately what it came down to.
Nice. Nice. And tell us about, do you mind sharing a little bit about your goals? So obviously we're in 2022. How's this year going? I know I shared a little bit about 2021, and how's 2022 going for you in your business?
Yeah, 2022 is looking to be a great year for us. We started off a little rocky in the first quarter, but like I said, having a great team, you recover quickly. And so far we're outpacing 2021, and it looks like we're going to do better than we did last year, which is always good. But honestly, outside of, financial business goals, Ken, what I'm looking to do is establish a solid team and continue to build leaders within that team, because that will just make my life easier, number one, but everybody else's life easier on that team. That's really what my goal is over the next couple of years, is just professionally become a better leader, just as a whole in general.
That's awesome. I know you and I have talked offline a little bit about that. What are some things you've done? As we've hang out the family, the kids are running around, we talk a little bit about books and different things we're reading. Do you mind sharing any big books or podcasts or things that you're doing to level yourself up?
Yeah, I'm a big podcast guy. I love Patrick Lencioni. He's a huge part of the Express organization. He speaks to at a lot of our seminars, and he's a great one for leadership. Who else is there? John Maxwell. I listen to his podcast as well. Those are usually my two regular go-tos. But I'm always open to learning from anybody new. Joe DeSena from the Spartan Race, he's got a great podcast out about resilience and hard work and grit. So there's a lot of them out there, but the one that resonates the most with me is most likely Patrick Lencioni. He just does a great job of covering everything business related and leadership.
Awesome. And I think you guys may have caught, he said the Klear Channel also. He listens and watches to the Klear Channel.
Yeah, you guys didn't hear that part? Klear Channel with a K, Klear with a K, top of the list.
That's awesome. So tell us about any fun things you've done with the family, the kids, anything, being an entrepreneur. Obviously, your first year in business, first 4 years, it wasn't easy. The last couple of years seems like things have been moving for you. How have you rewarded yourself? Anything along the way? You smelling the roses a little bit. Inspire these young people in their careers. What are some things you've done for you or the family?
Yeah, so the first couple of years, nothing, right? I mean, trying to make sure that I paid off the lien on my house for the business, and making sure the business is profitable. So those first couple of years as an entrepreneur are very trying. You're staying very humble. Nowadays, honestly, I'm grateful for the fact that I have more freedom to, leave the office earlier on certain days. I don't have to be there 50 hours a week like I used to. And those days that I'm not, I'm just spending time with my family. I'm enjoying some of my hobbies as I was before, playing soccer and, going mountain biking. And, we actually just, were fortunate enough to buy a house on a lake up north last year. And that was a 10-year plan of mine. So things are now starting to come together. But like I said, it wasn't an overnight thing. You had to sacrifice a lot leading up to this point. And, still can't do everything I want to do, but, that's part of, the goal, and staying competitive and keep pushing for more and keep pushing to do better.
Yep, absolutely. And just I want to kind of backtrack a little bit about recruiting, right? So a lot of people, not just in your organization, but in our organization, are part of the recruiting process. Mm-hmm. Any tips, anything stand out? I know you mentioned finding people with the right values, finding people that align with the values. You said it's not everyone's going to fit for what you're looking for. Any other things you've learned over time when it comes to recruiting and just being a great recruiter?
Yeah, I'll tell you, in the last 2 years, recruiting has changed significantly, as I'm sure you guys can understand, right? It is a job seeker's market out there. So I always tell my clients that if you find somebody that you like, that aligns with your culture, your value, don't delay it. you need to move quickly. A lot of companies these days are still, extending the interview process when they don't have to. And they end up losing candidates. And, it happens to the best of us. It happens to me too. We try to interview very quickly for my internal positions, but even we get ghosted. So it's really knowing your values and your culture up front and know to hire for that. Don't limit yourself to the skills. Skills can be taught, right? As long as they're engaged and they're coachable, everything else can be taught. So focus on those things and move quickly. If you see somebody you like, do not hesitate.
Nice. It's interesting you say that. We've noticed that too, right? So as we hire people, we're in the process, some of our offices, that there's 4 or 5 steps to get to a part where it's an offer or not. We got to shorten it up a little bit. It's
Right.
1, 2, 3 steps. If it's a good fit, we can speed it up. Awesome. So tell us about your goals now. So you just got the place up north. What lake is it on?
Port Huron, or Lake Huron, sorry.
So got the place on Lake Huron. 10-year goal of yours. Tell us about what are the goals now? Obviously they've changed from being a single guy in the restaurant business to now being a family man and multi-million-dollar business. But what are some of the goals in the next 10 years? Where are you looking to take this?
Yeah, so professionally, we want to get from bronze to silver, Circle of Excellence. That's the next level up.
And do you mind sharing? I'm not sure what, obviously this is, I know what it is from what you told me, but do you mind sharing? What does that mean? Like we have similar type of criteria. There's like the $1 Million Club, and there's other things that people can earn in our business, but.
Yeah, so that's all based on gross margin annually. So each level of Circle of Excellence is based on gross margin. So, Circle's the first one, then you go to bronze, and then silver and gold, and so on and so forth. So because we hit bronze twice, we're ready to go to silver. That means more revenue and partnering with more clients and putting more people to work every day. And that's our goal for 2022, and hopefully in 23 we're going to hit gold. So that's professionally. Personally, just continuing my individual development and growth. Like I said, I want to become a better leader. I want to become a better father, a better husband, just overall a better person. Nothing outlandish, Ken, really. I don't have any major goals. It's really just, I want to make an impact in people's lives at the end of the day, whether it's at work or at home. That's really the biggest thing for me.
Well, it's just so interesting to me, right? So obviously we've been friends now for years, and it's interesting that we have very motivated, driven spouses. We have kids that are obviously very athletic, and they're in different sports teams. And but it's interesting how, in my opinion, how the world works, right? Like the circle of friends that you surround yourself with. I know early in my life, there was people around me that weren't so motivated, weren't so ambitious, wouldn't take a lien on their house to get their business started, wouldn't take that type of financial risk. And that's gutsy, right? And then to build out of it, and now to start living and reaping those rewards. But I know for me, the circle of friends that we keep, and my wife and I keep, are just like you and Elizabeth, right? Motivated, ambitious, just great people. And it is. And when you get to a certain point of financial gain, it's about making a difference, about giving back, and about, again, for me, as you know, it's being a good dad first, teaching our boys that, hey, you can do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it. So
yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned the circle of friends, because I forgot who said it, but there's a saying that says, show me your 10 closest friends and I'll show you your future. And that's true to heart, I swear, because just like you said, Ken, I have friends that I grew up with that I drifted apart with, because as I've grown professionally and personally, they've kind of stayed the same. And while we're still friends, we're not in the same network anymore. We've kind of leveled up, so to speak. And I always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you need to find a new room, because if you guys are in the room with me and I'm the smartest one there, I'm going to find another room. Okay.
Right.
So always, yes, involve yourself with people that are essentially, more successful than you, that are more competitive than you, that are going to drive you and are going to push you to do better. Right.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
crucial. That's a big part of it.
Awesome. And Derek, obviously it's been already almost about 30 minutes. We really appreciate you jumping on. Any final life lessons, thoughts for the group or for the channel? And again, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, you got a business and a family and everything. So just thanks so much, bud.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. The last thing I want to tell people is that, you know, the biggest things I learned in the last couple of years of my personal development and growth is that, especially in business, number one, be patient. Nothing happens overnight. It's going to take time. You're going to hit obstacles. You're going to have bad weeks, bad months, but it all turns around. You just got to be patient. And the second biggest thing I learned was stop comparing yourself to other people. That was a huge difference maker for me. If you are comparing yourself to other people, maybe your coworker, and you're saying, "Oh my God, they're doing 10 times the sales as I am. What's going on?" That is a mindset of negativity, and it's only going to hold you back. The only person you should be competing with is yourself. Those two things made drastic changes in my world, and it resonated in my business. And honestly, that's part of why we made such a shift at work.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. If you guys can take your computers, your phones, whatever you're on, and take yourselves off mute and say thank you to Derek. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you, guys.
Derek.
Thank you, guys.
Derek, thanks so much for jumping on today. Happy Friday, everybody. Please subscribe to Klear Channel. We'll talk to you soon.